can I do this? I'm just gonna say your name as I see it across the screen and acknowledge that you're here. And that's probably the easiest way to do it. So Dawn Cronin. You can just wave because a lot of you are muted, so that's fine. Laura Gravel.
Here.
Eric Gunther.
Yep.
Susan Pappas.
Here.
Sherry Steckla. Here. Okay. Jake Glendon. Abby Wood. Deb Rudder. Eileen. Well,
I'm here.
Troy Fowler. Jake. It's Jake, right? Not Jacob. Yep. That's what you corrected me for. Okay. Maura. Lisa.
Here.
Oh, okay. Nancy. DeFrancesco.
Here. Yep.
Okay. And Caitlin.
Hi.
Hi, Caitlin.
Hey there.
Bill. David.
Here.
Elizabeth. This is what happens when I don't have a secretary at the meeting. Grace. Stephanie. Lynn. Hi, Lynn. And Eliana. And Mike Salamini is filming this in some way at the high school, I would imagine. Okay. Okay, awesome. Is there anybody's name that I did not say that might be joining by phone that I don't see? Okay. So I'm just full disclosure, this is the largest one of these meetings that I've done. I usually do smaller staff meetings. So I just ask for your patience as we go through this. I'm hoping that it's productive and whatnot, but I haven't been able to do one with this large of a group yet. And Jack Lyons, you just joined. Hi,
I'm
Jack.
here.
Nice to see you.
You also.
Michelle, are you going to
Matt?
record this?
What?
Are you going to record this?
It's live streaming on YouTube is my understanding. So they live stream it on YouTube, and then I guess you can go watch it at any time because it is a public meeting.
Okay, because you can also take the record button down the bottom and it'll record it to for your.
Oh, okay.
Thing
Yeah,
on the
no, I
bottom.
don't think I'm gonna do that. I think the YouTube, you can go at any time and watch it. That's my
Yeah,
understanding.
Michelle, I think Mike, part of what Mike's doing is if it's live streaming, he is recording it as it goes. So we don't have to do it internally. That's what Mike's doing.
Okay. Yeah, so and there he is. Hi, Mike, thank you. And so you should all know that this meeting's will be live streamed on YouTube. So just know that your face will be on YouTube. For those of you who've been seeking YouTube fame all this time. So I do want to officially call the meeting to order and say hello to everybody. It's nice to see so many of you here. I appreciate the fact that you're taking the time to get together like this. I know this isn't the ideal situation, but I didn't want to go any longer without us getting together. I felt like we had a really productive meeting in March, and I just felt like as time went on, I didn't want to lose momentum. So I appreciate you guys taking the time and getting together like this. So I did want to take a minute to kind of update you guys on what our Human Services Department has been doing over the past couple of months, particularly given the quarantine pandemic circumstances. And so just to kind of keep you in the loop about how we're functioning and what we're doing, I'll give you a brief overview of how we've been working. We did begin to work remotely the week of March 12th. The lucky thing about most of our positions and what we do is that a lot of what we do, we can do from home. We can do through the computer with telehealth and things like that, and using phone and email and whatnot. And so although some of us have been going in and out of the office periodically, in general, we've been working remotely, both at the senior center and at town hall. And we do plan to return to offices on June 3rd. Fully staffed and able to go. We have a pretty good setup in terms of our office space. to be able to separate people relatively well, so that people can have their own space and social distance like they need to. And we've set up safety precautions both at the senior center and at town hall for our staff. We will not be open to the public except for necessary appointments, and those appointments are going to follow public health guidelines and whatnot. Our transportation services are resuming on June 3rd as well for necessary medical appointments in Cheshire. We've had our transportation, our vehicles fitted with plexiglass shields. We're outfitting our drivers with PPE and have the necessary hand sanitizer and things like that on the buses. And again, have ordered PPE supplies for the senior center and for our town hall staff. So hopefully at this point, we'll be able to work safely. But we will be transitioning in terms of being open to the public along with the town hall plan at this point. Our youth services programs have been working remotely. Lauren will be joining us shortly, and hopefully we'll be able to give you an overview of what they've been doing. They've been offering some really cool online programming, so I'm excited for her to tell you about that. She is at home with 2 little ones, so occasionally her goals for the evening get thwarted. So I'm pretty flexible, but I'm hoping that she's gonna be able to log on soon. In terms of the social services piece, Kristen couldn't be here tonight, but just to kind of give you an update on that, we have seen an increase in the need for our social services programs. We did develop a COVID-19 assistance program, which was a grant program specifically for Cheshire residents. We did some fundraising. We allotted some funds that we already had in our gift account to be used only for people who were impacted by the pandemic in some way. So job loss, illness, high risk category and can't go to work, things like that. And we provided a grant based on the size of your household that could be distributed in the form of gift cards or paid directly to a utility company, a rental, a landlord, a mortgage company, a medical bill, and things like that. And so we launched that program on a Monday, and by Tuesday had 160 applications, I'm sorry. And so the response was quite overwhelming. And although I expected we'd get a good response, I didn't expect them all to come in at the beginning. So that made it a bit challenging. We have been able to help most of the people that applied. I did deny a few applications for various reasons. And I want to be clear that these were people who were not generally recipients of our regular social services program. So they aren't people who typically would get a food voucher or something like that from us. They're people who, typically are okay, but the pandemic had, left them in circumstances where they couldn't sustain their household. And so we just closed that program to applications at this point in hopes that we'll get some more funding in. We need to recoup a little bit of funding as well. But we were able to help 150 households with some form of assistance. So I was really pleased with that. We did give out more food vouchers. There was an increase of about 25% in our food voucher program since the COVID-19 pandemic began. Certainly we'd be referring more people to the food pantry. The community food pantry and the Cheshire Food Drive have been incredible in responding to this crisis and in supporting our department. But we definitely have been referring more and more people to the food pantry as well. Does anybody have any questions about the social services piece? Nope. Okay.
No.
Perfect. So in terms of our clinical services, both of our clinical interns were pulled almost immediately by their respective institutions. So the universities contacted us and said, you will no longer have clinical interns. So they were kind of pulled away from us and their caseload was left to us. And both of our full-time clinicians were able to work remotely from home using telehealth services, and they picked up all of the clients that were left by the interns. We actually were able to, because some people dropped off and didn't want to do telehealth sessions, we were able to get through our wait list and really meet, I think, the clinical needs of the kids in this community quite well. And so they've been working diligently to make sure that, they've been meeting with kids every day. And just to kind of give you an overview, Vicki had given me a report She basically said a variety of mental health issues, including anxiety, depression, substance abuse, family conflict. Things like depression, substance abuse, anxiety, and family conflict have certainly been on the rise given the circumstances of the pandemic. So, we've been working really hard to provide kids with mindfulness techniques, way to improve their mood, strategies to kind of get them outside and keep them active and keep them, in a structured environment, because it's really easy to kind of sleep all day and stay on your phone and watch Netflix, and the remote learning thing has certainly been challenging, for sure. So for now, we're going to be continuing with telehealth services probably well into the fall. I don't see us doing face-to-face appointments anytime soon. And interestingly enough, I think kids really respond to telehealth quite well. I see adults and kids in my private practice, and I found that the kids have just adjusted to this automatically. Like it's nothing new to them. They really seem to function quite well with it. So it is working really well. In terms of crisis intervention, there's been an increase in crisis reports of adolescents, mainly dealing with depression due to being at home and not having, spring or summer plans, having plans canceled, having the, remote learning set up and not being able to connect with their peers. Depression, is being displayed by adolescents isolating in their rooms, not communicating with family members, or having defiant behaviors at home. And so many of the police reports that we're receiving are because the police are called to a home where there's a domestic incident, where often it's a kid who's out of control because they're really struggling with this situation. But our police department has been wonderful with their response. Our crisis intervention worker has connected with every family, been able to connect them with resources and services to make sure that they're getting the support that they need. And just to reiterate to all of you at this time, everybody should be aware of 211 and know if there's a crisis in your home or with somebody that that you can always call 211 and get, a response immediately in an emergency situation. So just be aware of that. We give that information out a lot to the families in our community, because it is a 24-hour service and people can get help with just about anything through that service, but certainly in an emergency and a mental health crisis as well. I'm going to have Stephanie talk with you about senior services and how that's been going.
Okay, I'm off mute. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay. All right. I took myself off of mute. There's a couple of things just to give a few updates as to what we've been doing over at the senior center. And then I want to talk about the AARP Livable Communities. We've actually been very busy over at the senior center. As many of you know, we initiated that Mask for Members program where we distributed masks to all the older people in the community. And we've distributed, I think, close to 700 masks so far, with people calling in. And we've had good community support with that, where people have actually donated a lot of masks to help us out with that. So we've been utilizing the drivers in that capacity. We've also been helping at the food pantry and delivering food from the food pantry to all the older people in town who can't get out of the house, who can't get to the food pantry. So we've had one driver assigned to do that specifically. So he's been going to Meriden or Wallingford to pick up the food, bring it to our food pantry. There's been a lot going on with that. So it's been good. It's been very, very helpful. We also have been trying to do a lot of online programming. We do a Facebook page. We've been doing a lot of things on the Facebook page and trying to get people active, and we are initiating Zoom programming. So it's trying to get people connected in that capacity, because some older people aren't connected with that. We're still putting out the monthly newsletters, and we're just trying to move us forward as we can with all of the programming. And Laura, if at some point you want to jump in and talk about programming, feel free. But on a whole, we've been busy over there where the elderly nutrition program's been delivering meals to people, because we are a community meal site. So that's how we've been handling all of this. Transition, I think, has been pretty smooth. Initially, it was a little rocky, but I think the members and the older people of the community know that we're there, and they know to reach out to us if we can do anything or if they need anything. So that's kind of what's going on at the senior center. And like I said, Laura or Eileen, if you guys want to jump in at any point. The other thing I wanted to talk about a little bit is like the 5-year plan for the senior center and for senior services. We spoke about it a little bit at the first meeting. It was the AARP Livable Communities initiative that Deb Rudder brought to my attention. So I want to give Deb the credit for that. So I have been researching that. That's something that I have been researching and I've been looking into in depth. Just to give you some statistical information, that by the year 2035, the number of adults older than 65 will be greater than the number of children under 18 in the United States. So the idea right now is to try to make communities livable for older people to live in their communities for as long as possible and to make communities adapt to the changing needs of people. So one of the things that we're trying to do is we are trying to become an AARP certified livable community. It's a 5-year plan and I'm looking for a team of people to help me. And there's a process that's there to do that. So it's applying to get into this program, doing community needs assessment, creating goals, different programs, getting people educated on the cognitive and functional needs of older people, and then maybe adapting some of the things in the community that we have to help these people. So it could be public works changing the signage around town to make it better for older people in the community. It could be maybe different types of programming at the senior center. It could be training people in our tax office about dementia and how to interact with people who might be struggling a little bit cognitively. So that's kind of what we're looking at right now. That's the direction that we're going in. So I'm asking for anyone on the committee who'd like to help me with this initiative. And my thought is that maybe, initially we might meet, just so you know the commitment, that we might meet once every other month, just to kind of get things going, to get things started, and then quarterly, because a lot of the work that's going to be done is going to be done outside of the committee meetings, because there's going to be needs assessments, gathering of data, information, all of those types of things. And it really does have to have all of the town departments in play. But I also think it's really important that we have senior center members, obviously, but it would be nice if we could get some of the youth services members too involved, just to make it intergenerational and to kind of help people understand where we're going as a country and where we're going as a town. So that's my spiel. So if anyone's interested in doing that and getting involved with that, let Michelle know, and she'll reach out to me. My email, I'm on the town's email. It's sthoreau@cheshirect.org. So you guys can find me. And I'm in the process of putting that team together. So I don't know if anyone has any questions about that or wants to know any more details about it.
And just to kind of piggyback on what Stephanie said, so when we had talked at our organizational committee meeting about subcommittees around the particular priority areas. So senior living is one of those priority areas. So whoever wants to participate in the AARP program, we're going to form a subcommittee of people who would be dedicated to that project. So so at the end, towards the end of the meeting, I'll be hopefully getting names of people who can participate in those particular subcommittees.
Okay, you guys, a few people are sending me chats letting me know that they're interested. So I'll follow up with those people after we have the meeting. So, and actually the people who are sending me the chats are the people who I thought would be good for the subcommittee. So that's a good thing. So.
Okay. All right. So any questions for Stephanie? Okay, so Lauren is here, so I'm gonna, hi Laura, I'm gonna have her talk with you guys about what youth services has been up to.
Hi everybody. We have been very busy since kind of the end of March, trying to figure out how to navigate training programs for youth in a way that we've never done before. And so with the help of Stephen, who should be popping on here in a little bit, we've been able to kind of launch a few initiatives, a few programs. One of them the first thing that we started was a Mindful Monday and a Wellness Wednesday, where we post on our Facebook page 3 times a day. We just post things that help with mental health, physical health. We give people different strategies. We give them links to resources and just try to engage the community, at least if it's just a blurb here or there. Sometimes we ask them to comment. Sometimes we ask them to share pictures, post things, and so people have been getting involved with that. I'm trying to see here. In the middle of April, we were, I had reached out to my teen helpers and asked if they had any initiatives that they were interested in bringing to the table. And they immediately came back to me with a project called Cards Against Corona, which was very successful. And I'm super proud of all the teens that were involved. They were able to collect over 100 homemade cards that people made and they collected and they brought them to a hospital to share with the healthcare workers, and they displayed them in their hospital halls so that the nurses and everybody entering the hospital could see them. And they're still collecting them. So that's a group on our Facebook page, and they've been really successful. They also collected and donated personal protective equipment as well, and they distributed to different places in the community. We launched in the beginning of May our first ever virtual youth literacy program, which is kind of an offshoot of the program that we run 3 to 4 times a year. And it's been very successful. We had 43 families sign up for it. And every Saturday, Stephen, myself, and we're starting to bring in some of our part-time staff every week to virtually go live, and we read books to the kids, and then we demonstrate a craft live on the air with them that we provide materials for. And they seem to be enjoying it. It's from ages 4 to 8. They seem to be having a wonderful, wonderful time doing it. So we'll continue to do that. We're launching the June one in a couple weeks, and then we're looking to do it over the summer as well. With that, during this time, I've had a lot of parents and teenagers emailing me, asking if they had opportunities to volunteer. As Michelle said, a lot of kids are struggling with not having anything outside of the schoolwork to do, and they really are reaching out and they want to contribute to the community any way that they can. So I came up with themselves reading a story out loud that we could integrate into our youth literacy program. And I just checked today, we have over 86 stories read at this point and in our virtual library, which is awesome. So I've actually, all the inquiries I've gotten this week, I've told them I had to put it in hold because I'm not sure how to show all of those. So 3 or 4 times a week, I upload a video to our Facebook page for our youth literacy and show those videos. And I'm super proud of all of them for doing it. And I expect to even get more. And I'll be happy to share the link with you guys at some point, and so you can take a look at them. What else have we been doing? Youth Make an Impact is a campaign that I'm hoping to launch in June. And at this point, we just kind of put it out to the public where we want to spotlight one youth a week. It can be a youth or a team or a group of youth that are working together to do something good for the community. Whether it's collecting donations, it doesn't have to be COVID related. At this point, this week, over the last week, I've received 7 submissions already, and I'm hoping to get at least 12 or 18, because one thing that Michelle and I had discussed is turning those spotlights into a calendar that then we would marry with one of the 40 developmental assets, and we would distribute those calendars to local businesses, the municipal buildings, other facilities in town, doctor's office, that sort of thing, so that they would have this and see the wonderful work that the youth in our community are doing. Trying to see what else I have here. We launched a few other groups that we're looking to kind of get up and running, and we're really just kind of looking for ideas and things to do for the summer to keep kids active. I know a lot of parents have reached out to me with summer camps closing. I think parents and kids are really struggling with what they're going to do with their time. And so we're just looking for creative ideas about how to get kids engaged, even though it's virtually, get them engaged in at least 1 or 2 times a week, just with people in a community with other peers. So if anybody has any ideas, please feel free to send over an email to myself or Michelle, and we'll see if we can facilitate it any way that we can. One of the last things that I'll mention that just kind of launched formally this week, where we've connected people, is an initiative that was brought to us by a high school freshman who reached out to me last month, the end of last month, and said that he really wanted to connect with kids to help them through the distant learning process. He was very familiar with taking online courses and thought that he could contribute to helping parents navigate Google Classroom, as well as like some of the younger kids really trying to figure out how to do this online learning. And after talking with him and discussing with Michelle and working through Jeff Solon, we were able to launch our Volunteer Tutors for Kids. At this point, I have a solid group of 20 high school students who are our tutors at this point, and I have more in the kind of the waiting room to launch in the fall. But we're connecting them. It's a free tutoring program, and parents can reach out to us, kids from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. If they're struggling or they need help with something, parents, if they need help trying to navigate Google Classroom or any of the kind of technology, the kids are available to help the parents and the kids. And we're hoping that it does really well. I expect that we'll probably get a lot more inquiries as we go into the fall with kind of the uncharted territories of what school is going to look like. And so I think parents are going to need a lot of support with that. So if you know of anybody who's looking for a tutor or anybody who's really interested in tutoring, you can send them to our direction, because we're going to try to connect people that way. So I think that's all I have for now, but I'm sure there'll be more. So any questions? No?
Okay. Thank you, Lauren. Okay. So that's sort of what Human Services has been up to for the past couple of months. We certainly have been keeping busy for sure. Abby, I don't know if you were aware that I was going to ask you to do this. I'm not sure because you got the agenda when everyone else did, but I'm hoping that you can give a brief report about what the Western Connecticut Coalition has been up to and some of the cool things they're doing with online resources and stuff like that right now.
Sure, yeah, I did a little double check of the agenda, so I came a little bit prepared. Hi, everybody. My name's Abby Wood. I'm a behavioral health director at the Western Connecticut Coalition, for those of you I haven't had the chance to meet yet. So we've been keeping busy as well. I think we're on week 10 now of working from home, but luckily, similar to everyone here, we are able to do most of our work from home now that we're kind of adjusting. We are continuing. One of our projects that we've been working on is we are now hosting weekly QPR suicide prevention trainings. So if anyone in the group either has not been QPR trained or knows someone that would be interested, we are hosting them every Friday from 11 to 12:30. And I can actually send the flyer to Michelle if you want to send it out to the group.
I think I have it actually.
Yeah, and so I'll send you the one for June. So those have been well received. We've actually done a couple. QPR, the QPR Institute typically doesn't allow us to do the training online just due to the nature around suicide prevention, and it is a sensitive topic. But the second the coronavirus hit and we all started quarantining, I think they saw the importance that we still need to be having these conversations and educating folks. So we've been busy with that. We started sending out a weekly update. I'm not sure who in the group gets our emails, but if you don't, I highly encourage you to go on our website and join our listserv. I promise we try and keep it pretty succinct. So we've been doing weekly updates, highlighting things like National Prevention Week, highlighting things like COVID-specific resources for the region. And we'll actually be sending one out this week, kind of highlighting the end of Mental Health Month. So we've been doing that. We are also trying to figure out, and we're in the process, we're going to do our first one with the town of Wolcott, a combination question, persuade, refer, and Narcan training, and figuring out how to get the folks that need it Narcan. So we'll do the training online, and then we're going to be working with the local EMTs there to get folks who are trained their Narcan. So that's been it's been kind of in the works, because as you all know, it is still a prescription medication, so we can't just kind of hand it out. So I'm looking forward to that. We've also been trying to kind of focus on helping folks in the region with getting some basic needs met. A lot of the conversations we were having with other local prevention councils said, you know, we love the work around substance use prevention and mental health, but when folks are worried about keeping their lights on and keeping food on the table, it's kind of hard to focus on everything else. So we've been doing our best to kind of combine the basic needs work that needs to be done with our message. So getting safe disposal doTERRA bags out in the community, getting Narcan where it needs to be, and really just trying to meet the needs of the community that we're hearing. Moving forward, we're hoping to start transitioning at least part-time back into the office soon, but of course we want to make sure that we're doing that in a way that's safe. So we will be continuing with a lot of our virtual trainings. We have released the Local Prevention Council, the new application. So, you know, Michelle, if you want to talk offline about that, or I don't know if we're talking about it in this meeting, but that's kind of our next steps. So as always, if anyone in the group is interested in any kind of Narcan training or QPR, I'll just put my email in the chat for the Zoom meeting, just in case anyone wants it.
Abby, the Narcan training that you're doing in Wolcott, because that I was actually going to ask you about that. I would love to be able
Sure.
to do an online Narcan training here if that's at all a possibility.
Yeah,
Especially
absolutely.
right now. So when you do the Wolcott one, depending on how it goes, I'm happy, and I'm sure Kate would totally be on board with helping set that up, right, Kate? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like I said, the training itself, we're lucky enough that it's just a PowerPoint, so we can do it on Zoom or on WebEx like we've been doing everything else. Like I said, the thing that we're working on is how to get the folks who were trained the Narcan. But luckily, Wolcott has kind of offered to be our guinea pig, so we've got a team on that trying to figure out how that's going to go. So I'd love to connect on that, and we can get one in Cheshire as well.
Awesome.
Chestercott has been working with Abby and CASA as well as the ambulance to help kind of launch that. So
yes,
we'll have some lessons learned from that.
Exactly. Yes, we'll share what we learned, the road bumps we see.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you both. Okay. Any questions for Abby? Okay. So in terms, I just wanted to address the meeting schedule piece. We did have a draft meeting schedule for the entire year, which obviously there's absolutely no point in even dealing with that right now. What I would like to do is, we had settled on the first Wednesday of each month from 5 to 6:30 as our meeting date and time. And so the draft schedule lists those dates. Right now we have no official dates on the calendar, just given the pandemic. And so it's going to be kind of, we're going to see how it goes over the summer. My hope would be that, by the fall we'll be on some sort of regular meeting schedule. But it may be that we're continuing with this virtual meeting setup. I'm not sure. I hope not. But so just know that we did settle on the first Wednesday of the month from 5 to 6:30. And there's more to come on that. So when we met in March, we talked about the fact that this committee is really a coalition, or is meant to be a coalition, and that we had some missing sectors. We really met most of the sectors that we need, but we do have some missing sectors. And so the sectors that we were missing were media, local business, and healthcare professionals. And so I know some of you had left that meeting with some ideas in your heads about who those people, who those representatives of those groups might be. So I'm just curious if anybody has any feedback on a media representative or a local business representative or a healthcare professional representative. Okay, so we're still looking for those, it sounds like. So just bear in mind that we are still looking to fill those gaps. And so, we're only 3 short of meeting the sort of 12 sector requirement, which is really wonderful. So if we could, put our feelers out, if you guys know somebody in either of those 3 sectors that you think would be a good fit for this coalition, just get their names to me so I can reach out to them. And that would be really helpful.
Michelle, what do you need to meet that criteria?
So a representative from the media could be somebody who works for a newspaper, a news station, a radio station, TV, things like that. Just basically somebody who's involved in news, media, and that sort of thing. A healthcare professional could be anybody from, a doctor or nurse, something like that. And then a pediatrician would probably be ideal. And then a local business could be any local business, but ideally it would be a business that would be able to support the efforts of the coalition well. So whatever their business is, it would be something that we'd be able to tie into what we're doing. I often think that like a really well frequented local restaurant is a really good local business to reach out to. Unfortunately right now, maybe not, but in normal circumstances, that would be a really good, I think, local business. I also like Barker Specialty is a great business to be connected with just because of all the printing and things like that they can do. So, people like that would be, really good supports for the coalition and help us accomplish some of our goals would be really helpful. Okay. I am moving item 6 on the agenda to the end of the meeting. That the committee officers, what we're going to do is I'm going to adjourn the coalition meeting and just have the town council appointed members stay to talk about the committee officers. They have to be town council appointed members. So I'm not going to keep you all for that. So so I've moved that to the end. We did have some people who were interested in being liaisons to the Western Connecticut Coalition. And so we actually had several people who expressed an interest in that. And that's something, Abby, I don't know, where did you go? I lost your picture. Oh, there you are. Sorry, there's too many people. I don't know. Is there a limit to, I mean, are you looking for 2 to 3 people? Are you looking for 1 person?
These are for when we have our LPC leadership meetings, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So usually, so typically, the most recent one we had was really just the folks who were writing the grant because we talked about the LPC grant. But once we're back in business doing our meetings where we have an educational piece and a networking piece, anywhere from, I would say, probably 2 to 3, unless, you know, someone extra wants to come if the topic really kind of strikes their fancy. And if you do have a group that is really interested, you know, and I know that usually where we meet is a bit of a drive. So if you want to have a group of 5 or 6 and they kind of divvy up the meetings, that's great. We just want to see Cheshire represented however they can be. So we're flexible with that. But yeah, usually about 2 or 3.
Yeah, we have 6 people who are interested.
Oh, perfect.
So if all of those 6 people can serve as connections to that committee, and then
That'd
maybe
be
we can rotate attendance at meetings and stuff like that, that's awesome.
I think that would be like best case scenario. Perfect. Because like I said, I know it is a drive and the meetings aren't too frequent. So that way people could carpool or they could kind of split it up. And that way there's always someone there that can kind of take the information back to the group. And that way you don't have to hear so much from me.
All right, so I'll reach out to those people after the meeting or at the end of the meeting and just let them know. I'm assuming your meeting schedule is still, at this point, are you guys doing virtual meetings still?
Yes, so we've done one and we'll do another. So there is some time before the next one. So if you want to just give them my contact information, that would be fine.
Okay, perfect. I'll do that. All right, great. That's awesome. Okay, and then as Abby mentioned, the Local Prevention Council grant, which is a grant that addresses substance abuse prevention in our community, and that this committee is or should be largely involved with. So we have a couple of things to talk about. One is that we had some funds that we spent that we couldn't run the programs that the funding was going towards. So we had to get those funds back. So not only do we have to come up with a plan for the funds for next year, but we also have about $4,000 that we have to spend for this year before June 30th on prevention programming. And so I wanted to talk with you guys. I wanted to address that piece today and talk with you guys about your thoughts, again, sort of focusing on really addressing substance abuse prevention across the lifespan, on some programming ideas for what we could use that funding for, particularly given the current circumstances. And Abby, I know you might have some ideas about what other communities are doing that you might be able to share with us.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, I just want to say that Cheshire is by no means the only LPC in this position. Almost every LPC that I support was in this position. A lot of folks save LPC funding for project graduation, for end of year substance free events. So this is something that almost all of our LPCs are kind of facing. So normally, while we typically love our funding to go towards more experiential education, information dissemination, we're also very aware that we can't get a big group of parents and students in a room right now. So we're very conscious of that. So some of the things that other LPCs have been doing is purchasing the doTERRA safe disposal bags. They've been paying for radio ads, news ads, even a billboard is actually, I don't want to say easy, but a pretty one and done kind of option. You can use either some of the Live Loud or Change the Script campaigns that are already developed for the state. So that's one way I think to make it a little bit more manageable. Some folks are also doing some work around, some kind of like marketing for the LPC and getting some kind of professional help with their social media, things like that. So really the main focus is that it is still substance use prevention focused, and then can be able to be carried out before the end. So within COVID. So things like education, dissemination, billboards, media, things like that. I run everything by my supervisor, Allison, and we're trying to be as flexible with folks as possible because we know this is not an ideal timeline to spend this kind of, funding. So whatever, the group comes up with, I'm happy to bring that back to Allison, and we will 100% do our best to try and be flexible. So whatever ideas the group has, I'm happy to jot them down, or Michelle, if you want to send me them, when the meeting concludes.
So one of the thoughts that I had was that I thought it might be interesting to have our group put together a message that includes, a couple of our youth members, some of our adult members, some of our senior members, that addresses substance abuse prevention, that we could make a video and maybe have somebody who has some skill with that help us do that. I do not have skill with that. And put out somewhat of a PSA that we could then use to sort of get a prevention message out. And so when we talk about subcommittees at the end of the meeting, I'll be looking for people who might be interested in participating in that project. Because again, I'd love to be able to take a message that can relate to everybody in our community on some level, despite, their age or their circumstances, about substance abuse prevention and about resources that are available, because I think this is a time where people who are struggling with addiction are really struggling with staying connected with their support services and whatnot. So something to think about. And then I'm curious to hear if anybody else has any other ideas around this particular topic.
Michelle, I just have a question. Are you, for the prevention piece, is it a particular substance or just substance across the kind of thing?
I don't know. I mean, I'm certainly open to targeting a particular substance or addressing, substance abuse or addiction on a general level. We do have some opioid prevention tools, already in our community.
Give me too much too.
But it's certainly marijuana, vaping, at this point, even, nicotine and certainly alcohol, are all things that I think are worthy of addressing. So
I think in our current situation, alcohol and prescription drugs are probably the two biggest problems at this point.
Yeah. And you'll even hear adults. I mean, I can't tell you the countless, moms that I'll talk to are just like, yeah, I'm drinking more than I should, but and certainly there are a lot of jokes about it on Facebook and things like that. But I do think it's a real thing that people are using alcohol to cope with the current circumstances. And if you're home with, hypothetically three kids who are homeschool or remote learning and trying to entertain them and, and whatnot, it can be really stressful. And I think
that could lead to other things like domestic violence and whatnot too.
Certainly. So I think, probably on a general level, in terms of sort of healthy coping strategies versus unhealthy coping strategies, that sort of thing. But also letting people know that, I think addiction can really creep up on you in a situation like this. And where you might think you have things under control, there might be ways to identify that you don't. So, some things to think about. And again, we'll be talking at the end about subcommittees, and this will be a subcommittee of this group that's going to be dedicated to dealing with that particular topic. So any other thoughts or ideas?
Yeah, quick question. The June 30, is that a hard date?
The June 3rd return to work?
The June 30th date?
Oh, yes, that is a hard date. Yes.
There's no extension given the circumstances?
No, right? No.
That comes, unfortunately, that call, we were hoping that was going to be the case. Unfortunately, that call comes from the next level up from the state. So we were kind of hoping that was going to be the case as well. But that being said, the majority of the spending needs to be happening doesn't mean necessarily that some of the work, if that's makes sense. So if the fund, whatever funds are being spent for production, recording, that kind of thing, that needs to be kind of allocated and spent by the 30th, but not to say that things can't kind of still be in the works beyond then.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions about that? Any other thoughts from some of our youth members? Not to call you out or put you on the spot, but that's exactly what I'm doing. No? Okay. All right.
So-
So again,
I just have a question. Do we have all of our youth members now? Just because I wasn't sure from the last meeting.
yes, we are fully, fully
1, 2, 3.
membership.
Come-
Yeah.
Is it
we're-
5?
We're at full membership, sorry.
Is it 5? I can't remember.
Yes, we have 5.
Oh. Well, welcome,
Yep.
all you youth members. I didn't get to meet
Um,
all of them, I think, at the last meeting, so fine.
Oh,
Just wanna
okay.
say hi.
That's Lauren, for anybody who
Hi.
doesn't know her. Okay, great. So then,
Michelle,
yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to excuse myself. Susan Pappas,
Oh, okay.
okay? But I will catch up or watch the rest of it later on.
Oh,
I have
that's
my
right.
next meeting. Yeah,
Okay, all right. Thanks,
Okay,
Susan. All right, we'll
thanks.
talk to you soon.
okay, okay, thanks. Bye-bye, everybody.
Say hi to Ann for me.
I will.
Susan, oh,
So we had gone over, at our last meeting, we had gone over sort of some goals and objectives in a 5-year plan. We identified some priority areas. And so, although I'd love to be able to tackle all of that, I feel like that's a little bit ambitious given the current circumstances. So what I did was I isolated 4 areas that I thought would be good for us to focus on for now, at least to get through the next several months and hopefully through this pandemic. And so senior living and the AARP project was certainly one of them. And so that will be a focus of the committee, and certainly we're going to form a subcommittee that's going to work closely with Stephanie around that particular project.
Michelle,
Yeah.
Michelle, are you as the host? I think Susan just closed her laptop, but didn't actually leave the meeting. So, as host, you may be able to pick her. You may be able to close that out.
I'm gonna put her. How about if I put her in the waiting room? Is that better? Okay, that's all I could figure out how to do. So, so she'll be in the virtual waiting room forever. Okay, so I lost where I was. So, okay, so certainly senior living was a piece of that. And so we're going to be forming a subcommittee around that that's going to work closely with Stephanie. The other area that I really would like to do some work around with our committee is social media. And what I mean by that is we've had some incidents in town, and certainly this is happening all over, where because kids are home, because they're isolated, because they're on their phones, you know, it's getting a lot easier for them to take risks on social media and to make mistakes and to do, you know, to do some of the things that we constantly advise them not to do, right? And then in addition to that, not just kids, but like, you know, initially when the quarantine started, there were all these sort of Facebook posts where people were asking for, you know, answer these questions: the name of your youngest child, the name of your pet, the name, you know, like the color of your, whatever it was. And literally people were like posting the answers to all of their security questions for their passwords and making it like really easy to get hacked. So doing some education in our community around social media and safety is something that I would really like to work on. And I'm hoping that we can form a subcommittee around that as well. And then food insecurity, which has been something that, and again, the Cheshire Food Drive and the food pantry have been an incredible resource during this time. And they literally, the food drive was just like, you know, tell us what you need, we'll give it to you. And they really have, they've been amazing. And really, I think we've been able to make sure that most people in this community are not struggling with food insecurity, and that they have what they need. But this is going to be an ongoing problem, I think, throughout, you know, throughout the next several months. And so trying to put together a subcommittee to focus on food insecurity in our community that will support the food drive, the food pantry, and just sort of help to make sure that people are getting what they need in terms of food. And then the other area was mental health and substance abuse. And I've combined those two just because I think obviously they're so closely related. And so again, forming a subcommittee around developing some programs around mental health and substance abuse, not only for the pandemic, Lynn, that baby is so cute. Not only for the pandemic, but also, moving forward as we, as we go into the next year and things tend to look a little bit more normal. And so I know I had asked you guys to think about areas that you might be interested in working on. And I'm hoping that you had an opportunity to do that. So again, I'm going to highlight these 4 areas for you. And then what I would ask you to do is as I mentioned them, I don't know if I can see everybody. That's the only problem. I think after the meeting, I think the best thing to do would be to have people email me and let me know what area they're interested in. So to review the 4 areas, it's mental health and substance abuse, social media, senior living, and food insecurity. So I'd ask that you just pick one. And I would really love to have sort of a mixture of youth and adults on each committee. And so, if it turns out that all the youth want to do one thing, then I'll talk to you guys separately. Or if all the adults want to do one thing, then I'll talk to you guys separately. But, I'd love to have a young person be on the committee that's dealing with senior living. I think that would be a really interesting perspective for them to have. So even though it might not seem like it's something that relates to you, I think you'd have a lot to offer to that particular project. So again, mental health, substance abuse, social media, senior living, and food insecurity are the 4 areas. You can email me following the meeting and just let me know what area that you're interested in. And then we'll talk about, subcommittee formation after that. So does anybody have any questions about any of those? Okay, so what I'm going to do now then is I'm going to adjourn the coalition meeting and just ask that the town council appointed members stay so that we can talk about the election of officers. So the town council appointed members and the alternates, I need you to stay. Everybody else can go. And then again, please email me with your priority area or the area that you're interested in working on following the meeting, okay? Okay, so if you're an appointed member, stay. If not, you don't have to leave if you're not an appointed member, but I figured in the interest of your time, you don't have to stay either, so.
Have a nice evening, folks.
Bye, everybody.
Bye,
Stay well.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye.
Take care. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Michelle, do you need this streamed or is this an executive session?
No, it has to be streamed. It has to be streamed.
Okay. I didn't know if it was executive session. That's why I didn't.
No, thank you. No, but it does have to be streamed. Okay, so
Ms. Piccarello,
yes. Yeah.
I have a question. What is my role in this? Like, besides those 4 options that we can play, do I represent Dodd or what do I do?
You represent you're a Dodd representative, yes. So you're representing sort of the middle school youth of our community. And
Okay.
yeah, that's exactly what you're doing. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome, hon.
Bye.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about officers for a minute. So I did send out the list of people. Jake, did you just leave? Did he leave? He did? How do we get him back?
So.
I need him to come back.
Can someone text him?
I don't know if anybody has his number. Let me see if I can get his mom.
Who just left, Michelle?
Yeah.
Who? Oh,
Jake left.
Jake.
Yeah. Shoot.
Our Dodd representative.
Yeah. He. Let's see. Hold on. I'm gonna try to email his. No, that's not his mom. I'm gonna try to email his mom and see if I can get him back on.
Yeah. Technically, he should be part of it. He can't vote, but technically the youth members can't vote for chairman, but they can obviously participate in the obviously in the conversation, and obviously they're an important part of the committee as a whole. So obviously that's so I just want to according to the bylaws, only the regular members can vote for the chair, the officers of the.
But they do count toward a quorum, do they not?
Yep, they do. Yeah. And they
so
count,
without him, do we have a quorum?
Yeah, the quorum
because-
wasn't what I was worried about. It's more that he wanted to run for office.
Oh, okay.
So I wanted him to have an opportunity to do that. So
I'm not sure the youth members can hold office. I think only one of the 7 regular members can hold officer positions.
that's true, but what I had decided because of that is that we would offer the opportunity for a young person to pair up with an adult, so that there would be so the adult would be the officer and there would be a co-officer. Because in the past we have had young people serve as officers.
Absolutely.
And
Hi,
so
Grace.
yeah,
Like
that
Grace.
was, yeah, like Grace, for example.
Right.
So the bylaw changes that, obviously, and
Right.
so, but in an effort to still be able to involve our youth, wanting to be able to keep that going,
Right.
my thought was that we would pair them with an adult who was interested.
So I think that's a great idea. I'm just because I know this is the first time with the new bylaws and the merged bylaws that obviously we're addressing officer positions and what those new bylaws say. So.
And unfortunately, it looks like Sherry also left. I think we lost some members that we need.
Yeah, she had another meeting.
Okay, so let's just take the opportunity that we have now to have the people who were interested in the particular positions talk about why they wanted to serve in that position. I feel like it's not fair to hold an I was going to try to appoint officers tonight, but now that we've lost Jake and Sherry, I don't know that we should do that. I'd rather wait and maybe even call a special meeting in order
And
to do
Susan
that.
isn't here either because she had to go to another
Susan
meeting.
isn't here. Yeah. So, but maybe the people who are here could talk about their interest in the particular position that they're interested in, and share why they think they'd be a good fit. So, so Jake was the only person who was interested in serving as secretary, but we do need an adult who would be willing to serve as secretary as well. The secretary position, just so that you know, is more of a figurehead position. Because the secretary is actually isn't the person who takes notes and stuff like that. We have somebody else, a staff person, who does that. So the secretary is somebody who really would run a meeting in the absence of the chair and vice chair, and might be asked to take notes on special projects and things like that. So sort of an organizational person per se. So is there anybody
do that.
You would do that? Okay, great.
I would do that.
Okay.
I mean, as long as taking notes, not so much, because I can barely read my own handwriting.
Well, the good news is that Jake wants to be secretary as well, and it would only be the two of you, so maybe he's a good note taker. So we'll
Yeah,
ask
that'd be
him about
fantastic.
that. So then, Eric, I'm going to take you off of vice chair then. Okay.
No problem.
Yeah. Okay. So, so under chairperson, we had Phil Belcher. So Phil, do you want to take a minute to kind of talk about why you think you'd be a good fit for that role?
Sure. I'm unmuted, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. All right. Basically, I have a passion for seeing people excel. I'm firmly convinced that people have the tools necessary, and given some guidance and encouragement, their goals can be achieved, whatever those goals may be. Over the past 35 years or so, I've seen the town change. We've grown, we've progressed. We're not the Cheshire that we were back in the 80s. But we're fortunate to live in a town where opportunities for good quality of life exists. Outreach rather than inward focus is encouraged. Obstacles of varying shapes and sizes can be overcome, and there are, as I've said, opportunities for good quality of life. Through careful observation, the Human Services Department have carefully structured strategic plans and, as we've heard, clearly developed the vision to ensure all citizens of the town, regardless of where they find themselves, can be assisted in navigating through the most turbulent of waters. Over the past couple of minutes, we've heard some great examples of active participation. As part of the department's fleshing out of the vision, it is my hope and strong desire to be a leading voice in that effort. I bring to this committee an extensive professional and personal toolbox of sorts that's been carefully honed and developed over many decades. Professionally, I've developed a management style that is clear, it's inviting and supportive of those around me. For me, encouragement, coaching, communication really go a long way. From a personal standpoint, my leadership experience has been both in the civic and in the church arenas. I've spent a number of years leading and training young men within the framework of the Boy Scouts of America. And further, I've been involved in subcommittees at Chesprocott Health District, specifically on mental health and substance abuse. And additionally, I currently function and serve as a pastor at Cheshire Bible Chapel. Transparency is a valuable commodity for me. And so in terms of politics, yes, I am a Republican. However, the bigger picture for me is it's people over party lines, the program rather than politics. And I will endeavor to lead by example and encourage my fellow committee members to do the same. My strong desire is that we as a committee be united. There's far too much bickering and complaining and moaning and groaning, which is really getting us nowhere except spiraling inward. I'm in favor of a supportive and a cooperative group, facilitating what our human services professionals are trying to achieve, namely to enhance the quality of life of Cheshire residents across their lifespan, and to help support their emotional and physical well-being, and to enable them to be positive, productive members of our community. Thank you.
Thanks, Phil. Okay, so Troy, you also expressed an interest in being chairperson. Did you want to say a little bit about why that would be a good position for you and why you're interested in it?
Sure thing. I like to lead, and I've been able to do that through the Y. So I've been a counselor at summer camps over the summers, and I work at the Y during when school is an actual thing, a physical thing. I'm an aftercare counselor. So I've kind of honed my craft at leading. And I think I'm very good at managing too, and I'm well organized.
Thank you. Grace, you would also express an interest. And Grace, I see that you're under chair and vice chair. Did you want to pick one, or do you still have an interest in both?
I guess I can hone on chair. So basically, I've spent the last 2-ish years chairing the Youth Services Committee, and I had a lot of learning in myself and about my community from doing that, and I would love to continue it. And I think I honed my skills that way, and it's really exciting for me to even have the opportunity to continue it. So that would be great.
Thank you. Okay. And then, so under vice chair, we had Grace, and then John Nan. So John, do you want to say a few words about why you're interested in that position?
Certain aspects of what this, and I'm very new to other aspects of what this committee does. And I don't put myself out as somebody who can.
John, I'm having trouble hearing you. I don't know if.
Okay, so I'm not. So. So I've been involved in some aspects of what this committee does for quite a while, but I'm new to many other aspects of what this committee does. And I thought that this would be a good opportunity for me to take leads in areas with which I'm familiar, but learn more about what's going on in other areas of the human services in the town of Cheshire. So that's why I thought the vice chair position was one that would allow me to utilize my knowledge of certain things in this town and some of my skills, but allow me to also learn a little bit.
Great. Thank you. Okay, we had, so Susan also expressed an interest in vice chair, and Jake again, and since they're not here, what I think I'm gonna do is offer them the opportunity to email a statement out to the group. And then what I will likely do is try to schedule a special meeting so that we can have a vote, because we do need to have a vote that's public. And that's, a formal meeting. And so I'll try to, hopefully that will be easier to organize, because it's just going to be with the town council appointed members as opposed to the larger group. So I will ask Jake and Susan to do that, this week, and then hopefully maybe over the next couple of weeks we can hold an election and appoint our officers and have that settled and have that one piece of formal business settled for us. And so that was, does anybody have any questions about that process? No. Okay. All right, perfect. So again, just send me an email letting me know what you're interested in participating in terms of the 4 project areas. I'm hoping that we will have another meeting, at least one over the summer. It will likely be a virtual meeting like this, but I didn't think this went too terribly, so that's okay. So I'm encouraged that this many people are able to do this without a lot more confusion. So I'll reach out to you over the next couple of weeks with the schedule for a special meeting to do the vote, and then hopefully, like I said, over the summer we'll have another complete committee meeting as well. Okay. Any questions from anybody?
So Michelle, you'd mentioned the first Wednesday of each month, so you're not planning on one that first week of June?
I don't think so at this point, because it's May 27th. Yeah, so I think it's too soon. Yeah. Okay. So and then I would imagine the tricky part about July will be that it will be around the 4th of July.
4th of July.
Although,
okay.
Yeah, although none of us are, going on vacation, probably, it probably is simpler to just wait till August, to make sure that we have a good attendance.
Perfect. No, I saw that coming up. That's just next week, and I'm like, okay, see if that was going to work out. Thanks.
Yeah, no, and then hopefully by August we'll be able to have a schedule that we can actually vote on and formalize and put into practice. So, okay. Any other questions from anybody? No. Well, it was good to see everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you.
Thank you for taking your time, Michelle.
Bye-bye.
All right, and we'll be in touch soon for sure. Stay safe, everybody.
Okay.
You too.
You too.
Right.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a good
Thanks,
day,
Mike.
guys.